Hey everyone, welcome back to the Distinctive Contractor podcast. I'm Jaden, your host. This podcast exists because of something I noticed from being in the industry myself. There are so many contractors and construction and business owners out there doing genuinely exceptional work, but no one ever really gets asked to talk about it. So that's what we're here for. Every episode, I stand alongside a business owner who's doing something distinctive, something that sets them apart from everyone else in the market. And we just talk about it. So that's what we're here to do today. And I'll be honest with you, with today's guest, if you're a little bit nervous, that's completely normal. Most of the people I talk to have never been on a podcast before, and it's not every day that you get a call from someone asking to put the spotlight on your business, but that's genuinely what this is. It's an honor to have you here as our guest today, Adam Dold from Roofs by Shiloh, and my only job today is to help to tell your story well. So let's get into it and welcome Adam. Tell me about your company name and how it originated and where you're located.
All right. Well, thank you for having me. The company's located in Rowlett, Texas, so just 25 minutes outside of DFW. The name Shiloh is a biblical reference to a place of peace or a gift from God. When I started this company, I wanted everything that we did to be biblically focused. So a lot of our processes are focused around that and making sure that we're giving back to the community, participating in things going on around us, and making sure that every job actually gives back. So we've created several things to make sure that happens.
Your site talks about stewardship, integrity, excellent service, and faith as your 5 core values. And I truly love that. And something else, you donate 1% of every invoice to a local charity of your customer's choice, which I think is fantastic that you actually put that in the customer's hands and get them more involved with the process. So what does that look like?
Yeah, so from a small repair to a full replacement, 1% is donated to a local charity on behalf of the customer, and they get to choose that charity. When I started the company, I wanted to be a faith-based company, and I'm like, well, what does that really mean? And so that became a big part of what we do, because I wanted to make sure that everything we were doing, we were giving back. Not only, is a company giving back, and we're not trying to increase the price so we can cover that 1%. That's just part of our process. Doesn't cost the customer anything, but we want them to get credit for it. So we send a check to the charity that they choose, along with a letter, kind of basically giving information on what the check was for and why we're doing it, and kind of tell us a little bit about ourselves, but we also want it donated in the customer's name. That was one way that we made sure that everything we're doing, we're giving back.
I really love that, Adam. It's fantastic. You've been roofing for about 15 years, is that correct?
Yeah, so I've been in the business for 15 years. I started this company 2 years. So I was with a couple other companies before. And honestly, my wife didn't want to own a roofing company. So I never thought I was going to be like an owner of a company, but some things happen and it's all God's timing. And when those things happen, it just made the most sense for me to start my own company.
I love that. That's really great. So you were working for another roofer and then decided to go into business for yourself?
Yeah. So I started out as a roofing sales rep, actually in Kansas is where I started my roofing career, and worked for 2 companies there, learned a lot. And one of the companies, things were changing and some things happened. And my wife was coming to Texas for a business trip, and I tagged along with her and ended up working for a company here in the DFW area. And I started out as a sales rep there, quickly became their manager and then their sales director. And then some things happened, and it just made the most sense for me to start Roofs by Shiloh.
Fantastic.
After 8 years with that company. So,
okay, great. And you haven't looked back, huh?
I have not looked back. Nope. We are growing, and the processes and our procedures that we have in place, we want to set the standard and exceed the standard. And so, some of the things we do, we bring just as much equipment to protect the home as we do to reinstall the roofs. So We have and I'm sure we might go into that a little bit. So I don't want to get ahead. So I'll let you continue.
Lots of exciting things to share. I'll ask you one question about leadership before we get into that about what you're bringing to the job site. But what's a leadership lesson that took you the longest to learn since you've started your business?
When it comes to like starting my business, I think like all those 15 years, God was really preparing me to step into the role of be a leader in a business. So like through the 13 years prior to starting Roots by Shiloh, like I just was continuing to learn, continuing to perfect my craft, learn from the mistakes. And, not to say there's been challenges with starting your own company. There's all kinds of challenges that, with the marketing budgets, and advertising, and then employees and hiring and, everything else that goes along with owning a business. But, I think when it comes to leadership, if you learning to serve first and serving first and going through those trials and learning from your mistakes, it sets you up to be in a good leadership role and then lead by example.
So one thing that keeps popping into my mind is the 1% donation. Is that a type of tithing? Do you guys sort of look at it as your way of tithing through your business? Because as a Christian, I'm sure you probably tithe through your church. Was that kind of the whole positioning behind that?
So I was a part of an organization. It's called C12. They're a nationwide organization. And what they do is they meet on a monthly basis, and they talk about incorporating faith into like leadership and starting a company. Companies say, oh, well, I'm faith-based or we're faith-based. And it got me thinking, what does that really mean? And so stewardship is a big part of that, and spreading the gospel. Like that's what I believe we're called to do, is we're called to make disciples, like go be witnesses. And Roots by Shiloh has given me the platform to do that. I mean, you can see as our logo behind, we have Bible verses in our logo, and like the giving back, and just, we're called to be good stewards. And that was just one part. And yes, tithing is a big part, but that's, personally, like I tithe to the local church, and the company gives back as well. But we wanted to be able to incorporate our customers into, our community service and giving back. We have a list of charities to choose from, or the customer can pick a charity and we will send that donation to, the charity of their choice. They don't necessarily have to be on our list.
So getting on to what you mentioned about on the job site, you don't do the blue tarp method, and you bring as much equipment to protect the home as you do to install the roof. A couple of your reviews back that up as well. Specifically, Rylan mentioned protective nets and downspout collection bags. David said you and Eric go above and beyond to minimize impact on the property. Was that level of site protection always the standard, or did you build it in after a job went perhaps a little bit sideways and something got damaged? I'd love to know the backstory behind that.
Starting Roots by Shiloh, we started pretty quickly with what's called the catch-all system. It's a netting system that's suspended by yellow poles and rubber bumpers that can hold up against a home. And we have continued to add to different aspects of that protection system. So really starting off, I didn't have it right away because, it's not a cheap system, but we had it pretty quick after starting. We have a designated trailer that we take to each job site that basically carries equipment just to protect your home. It's a black netting system. So especially with this Texas heat, we also have gutter protection. So there's solid gutter plastic that we can sit in your gutter system if we aren't replacing your roof with the gutter to help prevent those from getting damaged. We have bags that we can put on the end of downspouts that catch all the nails and the debris. We also have what's called shrub shield. So when you see roofs around you, since you live in Texas, a lot of people have seen roofs going on, and generally you'll just see blue tarps over those plants. Well, those plants don't look too great at the end of the day after they've been covered by a blue tarp and then material falls straight onto them. So We have Shrub Shield, which is like a erector set that you can put some decking on top of. So when material does come off the roof system, it hits that. It doesn't smash your plants. We've also added what's called AC Shield. It's a netting that's designed to go right over your air conditioning unit. So when shingles fall off, they hit that AC shield, and you don't have a bunch of granules, and your AC is not getting damaged as well as a pool tarp. So we use a floating pool tarp that goes over the pool, and it stays at the water level. So if you have a pool and you've ever roofed a house and debris just fall in, well, the debris ends up at the bottom of the pool. Well, this keeps it at the water level. So at the end of the day, that debris is not at the bottom of your pool. We pay to have a professional company come out and clean every pool because we don't want to miss a stray nail or have a dirty pool. And we're not, we do roofing. So I want to bring out the right experts to clean the pool and make sure it's up and running and you're completely satisfied with the job.
Excellent. It sounds like you leave no stone or shingle unturned, and you guys cover every aspect of it. I love that. When you say that you put together a roofing system, what does that mean in practice? Is that about materials and ventilation working in unison together?
Your goal in your attic is to achieve like essentially a neutral air, so that when you're trying to heat or cool your attic, it's not your AC unit's not working as hard to achieve that against your attic. So it's so important to have not only an intake where the cool air comes in and the hot air escapes. So both those, aspects, we look at both those to make sure that it's properly ventilated. A lot of our roofs, we install a solar powered attic vent, and that moves a lot more parts per minute than your standard static vents. Like a standard static vent might move like 1 to 2 to 3 parts per minute, and a solar powered attic vent is going to move somewhere around like 25 parts per minute. So just like when you open the front door and the back door of your house, you feel that air flow through. You're trying to achieve ideally something similar in your attic. Now, granted, it's not fully insulated from the outside. A lot of people have blown-in insulation, so it's not like adding a room to your house per se. But reducing it by 20 and 30%, that can make a big difference.
I totally agree, Adam. It's so many roofs, even new roofs that my husband has watched been installed. He sits there and can point out the ridge vent and how the whole roof has been vented incorrectly. This isn't something that is an isolated situation. To our listeners and viewers, I want to be able to bring that to your attention if you're thinking about getting a new roof, that Roofs by Shiloh specializes in venting. One of the biggest investments you're ever going to make on your home is getting a new roof.
Yeah, turning into it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, some contractors don't understand, like adding another vent to a roof, that might not be the best. It just depends on the situation. Like you have vaulted ceilings. What's your attic space look like?
Yeah.
Are there multiple different attic spaces? So not every application will work for every roof. Some roofs don't have enough ridge vent or enough ridge to put ridge vent on there to ventilate it properly. And then you'll also see sometimes where they mix and match ventilation. Like they'll put a turbine next to a static vent. Well, the problem with that is when your turbine is spinning, it's pulling the hot air from your static vent, and you just have air cycling at the top rather than that cold air coming up from like a soffit area. Or if a roof doesn't have a soffit, you can use what's called an edge vent to help that cold air come into your attic and exhaust the hot air through the top. So not every roof is the same. There's so many different roofs out there. Not every ventilation type works for every roof system. So that's why it's important to, hire a company that understands ventilation.
The Distinctive Contractor Podcast is brought to you by Journey International Staffing Agency. You're a contractor. You know how to get the work done. But leads are expensive, and missed follow-up is costing you even more. And here's what most contractors don't realize. Your next job or referral might already be in your contacts. That past roofing customer, they're thinking about hiring again. But if you're not staying in front of them, someone else will be. Journey ISA helps business owners place trained, pre-vetted virtual assistants into their business. So lead follow-up gets done, past customers stay warm, and the important details stop falling through the cracks. Your VA handles lead follow-up, customer communication, appointment scheduling, CRM updates, email and text marketing to past clients, review requests, social media, and the admin tasks that pile up when you're out managing job sites. Keith DeLuca has spent over 20 years in real estate investing, remodeling, construction, and roofing. He uses virtual assistants in his own contracting business and now helps other business owners in the trades find the right VA to do the same. If you're ready to close more of the leads already coming in, re-engage the customers you've already earned, and free up your time to work on your business instead of just in it, book your free consultation today at JourneyISA.com. Journey International Staffing Agency, helping business owners turn follow-up into revenue and time back into growth.
We just recently in our neighborhood had all our electricity put from above ground poles into underground. And he saw 2 roofs that went in close to where we live where they left the pipe jack from the old electricity system poking out through the roof. And it's just little things like that really are a point of difference between the roofers that maybe are cutting corners, like you mentioned before, and the roofers that will go the extra mile for their customers. So I'm sure that you've probably seen things like that too, and wondered why would they not just, replace the decking where the pipe jack was coming through the roof and, fix it, because it's never going to be used again.
Yeah. Some things like if your roof doesn't turn brown, essentially exposing all the decking before they install that new roof, there's some chances that they might have covered up some issues. Mm-hmm. So you want to fully expose the decking of the roof system on every single house. But you'll see guys, they'll just tear off the shingles, add another layer of felt, and re-roof it. That happens all the time. I saw one today. Mm-hmm. And the one that I saw today had a 15-pound or 30-pound felt, which is that black felt that used to be standard. Well, now synthetics becoming more of the industry standard. But when you stack those together, it creates moisture in between those two, and eventually will just cause you problems. You really need to do your homework to make sure you're working with the right company.
Yes.
I mean, it's so important before, during, and after the storm. Not just a company that shows up for the weather, and then they're not going to be back later on when you need them, if you were to need them.
Yeah, that's a really great warning to give out to our listeners and customers that are in the market for a new roof is, these charlatans that drive around the storm chasers. It's something to be extremely careful of. They will try to get you at a lower price. One other thing that I want to mention is that covering deductibles is completely illegal. If any roofer ever mentions that they're going to cover your deductible, you need to close the door. if they're door knocking,
if that's how they start the conversation, that's probably not the best company for you.
Yeah. So you specialize in insurance claims, Adam, and it shows reviews on your outstanding Google business profile mention that you personally are meeting the adjuster and handling the insurance side from start to finish. If someone's shopping for roofers after a hailstorm, what's the one question they should ask that most people wouldn't think to ask?
If you have a company that tells you you're going to waive the deductible, you should automatically tell them, no, thank you. Have a good day. The company you should choose should be based on their reputation, how close they are in proximity to your home, because you want somebody that's going to be in place if you do have a problem, and find out what their warranties are, ask them how long they've been in business. When it comes to insurance claims, you have to have a license to negotiate insurance claims. When it comes to insurance claims, we walk you through the process of the insurance claims, because when you receive a 7 to 10 page report with a bunch of line items on it and numbers on it, those can be very confusing. Like there's recoverable depreciation, there's non-recoverable depreciation. So we just walk a customer through that process and simplify it for them so that they're informed throughout the process. If they had a company say, hey, we'll waive your deductible, well, this is what could happen and this is what it looks like. If they're waiving your deductible, they're submitting fraudulent documents to the insurance company that not only holds DIP liable, but it actually also holds the customer liable in the state of Texas. That's the law that was passed in 2019. putting yourself in a really bad position with your number one asset if you're willing to do that. So it's not just on the contractor anymore. The paperwork you receive from the insurance company is what's called a good faith estimate. So the insurance company has put together a line item estimate using generally Xactimate, and they're taking line items and they're saying, it's going to say remove roof, this is the quantity, and this is the price. So they're using a pricing system that is already considered industry standard pricing. So when we go through that, we will simplify that into a one-page estimate and show you how much money's still coming. If, like on a fence, for instance, most fences are what's considered ACV, or actual cash value, meaning that the insurance company is paying the amount of money to clean and stain that fence for that exact day. So they're going to depreciate it out. If you painted it 5 years ago, they're going to depreciate 5 years of the value out, and that's all the money you're getting. Whereas with a roof, if your roof is 5 years old, they're going to depreciate a percentage off to 5 years value. And then once the work's complete, you show your proof of deductible paid, they send that 5 years back to you, and that's called replacement cost value. If you have a company that doesn't understand that, or is just kind of like, well, oh, we'll figure it out, don't worry about it, like not informing you, there's probably some things on there that are going on that you might not understand. So that's why it's so important to pick the right company that understands that process, because there's a certain way that it needs to be handled.
It's important for customers to know that they don't want to be getting themselves wrapped up in a situation where the contractor is saying that they're going to be covering their deductible and things don't turn out well for the homeowner. So that's something for them to be on the lookout for. Reputation and community involvement is the distinctiveness that you picked over things like speed or price. In a market like Dallas-Fort Worth with no shortage of roofing companies, like New Braunfels, there are so many roofers congregated in this tiny little space. So reputation and community involvement is really important to you. How do you actually prove that to a homeowner who's never heard of you before versus one who got a neighborhood referral?
So we're very involved in our local chamber. I'm an ambassador for the chamber and on the strategic team at the chamber here locally. Like I said, the whole goal with giving back and the 1% is we're trying to reach local non-for-profits that we can help out alongside with our customer. It's a daily part of our business to make sure that we're, showing up where there's a need, stepping in where there's a need, being active in the community. And we're not just coming in because there's a storm. We're here before, during, and after the storm. We're not necessarily a storm chasing company. So reputation has been a very pivotal role to growing Roofs by Shiloh and making sure that every customer is satisfied. Like we will do a free temporary repair service. So if you have a leak, like we'll come out, we'll temp it for you and provide you with multiple solutions to potentially repair that roof fully. There are some companies that are trained, like if the roof is 10 years old, they say file a claim, like see what happens. That's not how we work. So I'll give you an honest evaluation of a roof, and we're going to talk about what factors you should consider. Budget is talking about, hey, there's a deductible that you got to account for here. So where does that leave you? What does that look like? Do you know what type of policy you have? So like encourage customers to make an educated decision. So we encourage them to reach out to their insurance agent to find out what type of policy they have. Some people don't know what their deductible is or what that means, or the ACV, which is actual cash value, or replacement cost value. A lot of people don't know that.
Is there any value that you think that I can offer you in your company today? It's been so great having you as a guest, and just love to add value to what it is that you're doing.
Yeah, well, I think this podcast is adding some value. I've never been on a podcast before, but I think, I appreciate you having me on and just, having this conversation and, getting the word out about Roofs by Shiloh and helping us grow. You've already started to help us. We appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm really grateful to have you on. I want to share something with you. When I'm looking for distinctive guests to come on the podcast, The Holy Spirit moves in my life very closely to me, and I have these, I call them my Holy Spirit moments, and we can choose to listen to the whispers or, we don't. And there was something about you when I saw your company, when I saw your work ethic and all the beautiful things that you're doing in the community. For some reason, I just knew that you were going to be a wonderful guest, and it has turned out to be
Thank you.
true. I want to share something with you. You saw the ad at the beginning for Journey ISA before we started recording. As you know, we're roofers and contractors ourselves. We actually started out in real estate investing. So we were doing all of the fix up and all of the remodeling and everything on the houses that we were purchasing. We love to help roofers and contractors in the industry because we know how time poor we all are, because we've struggled with that ourselves. Always out on the job site, not being able to pay as much attention to the back end of the business as we should for things like social media, video editing, getting your consistency with your social media. You can tell me how you feel about that. Leads can perhaps slip through the cracks, like even past customers. Do you have email marketing campaigns set up for your past customers so that you could, acquire their business again in the future, or offer through consistent email marketing, which is huge? Email marketing is really where a lot of business can take place, through a referral program, offering something to your past customers or for customers that come back.
We have a system that sends out like emails and follow-ups and like text messages, but we haven't dialed it in to making sure that we have a campaign going quite yet to follow up with our customers. So, it's just part of the business that you gotta, just keep building on and improving. So we have the ability to set some of those things up, but they're not set up at this point.
Mm-hmm. We found that I actually have a virtual assistant who's my personal assistant. We have multiple virtual assistants, and I've actually found that having somebody, and virtual assistants are extremely affordable, and having somebody that works, full time doing just those tasks can, really take so much off of a business owner's hands. Like, for example, if Keith's out on a job site, he's, taking some social media, video, he just plops it right into the Google Drive, and the VA takes care of everything. They do all the social media posting, social media management. They add all the captions. It's all pre-decided how they're going to look. I see this beautiful blue color that's in, your logo. So the captions might be blue to match your company so that it's easily recognizable when you're seen on social media. So I want to just thank you so much for being a guest today. And
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, is there anything else that you would like to add? I have one last question for you at the end if you don't add this, because I'm really interested to know about it. But
Well,
is there anything?
What do you got?
I want to know about the baby box at the fire station.
About the baby box?
That was
Oh,
what
okay.
a beautiful thing that you guys have done, to help and be involved with setting that up.
That stemmed from actually chamber meetings. So our chamber meets every Thursday at 8 a.m. and there's about 60 businesses plus or minus represented at that. And one of the gentlemen there, his wife was interested in that. And there's the baby boxes all over the United States. I believe there's like 430 baby boxes, give or take, that are out there now. This one was the first one and through her doing a small presentation and talking about the baby box, we, Roofs by Shiloh, along with some of our customers and partners, just donated some money to help that cause. A church, donated, and that was all essentially a privately funded effort. The mayor, the council members, all were on board, but it didn't come out of the budget from any government money funding. It was all private funding. So like I said, we played a small part of it. I can't take credit for it. Credit to Sarah McDermott. She really drove that home, and we were fortunate to play a small part in getting that one installed, and hopefully some future ones coming up.
I read a little bit about it, but it's where if someone wants to, I guess, anonymously, they cannot keep their baby and they're struggling with the actual having to face that as a mother, it's just unimaginably painful decision that a mother would have to make, and they can go and place their baby in a place that they know it's going to be safe, kept at the correct temperature, and, that baby is definitely going to be guaranteed to survive, and at least because of the environment that it's in. Yeah, I just, being a mum and adoring babies, I serve at my church in the 0 to 2 baby room, and I can't get enough of them. I love it. I get to go take care of babies, and then I get to hand them back.
There you go. Sugared up? No.
Yeah.
That's too
I get
young to be
my
sugared up.
my baby fix,
Right.
and then I get to give the baby back to mum and dad.
Yeah, the project, I think, it took a while to get it all done because there's alarms, there's testing, there's temperature of what needs to be in there. And then, they even did an example, like when they opened the box up, basically the entire Rowlett Fire and Police Department, everybody received a text message, notification. So I think the founder said that the average time the baby would potentially be in the box is like just maybe around 2 minutes. And I think their testing showed that like Rowlett was getting them to like a minute 20, minute 30. So very quickly. And then when you open it, like a bag that has like resource information also drops out for her. So like, hopefully she takes that bag. I think they showed that like 60% of women that choose to go that route actually take that bag. So it hopefully provides some resources for the mother as well as the child and what, both are going through.
Yeah.
So
Well,
it's really a great cause.
yeah, thank you guys for being involved with that. It was definitely something near and dear to my heart. And I really appreciate our conversation today. And is there anything else, Adam, that you would like to add before we say goodbye?
I don't think so. I think I've really enjoyed our conversation. Thank you for all the
Me
questions
too.
and having me on. It's been great.
Yeah, it has. And if anybody who is a contractor, or if you're watching this podcast and you know somebody, have a friend, family member that's interested in being a guest on our podcast, they just have to be a licensed business with a Google profile, and we will be more than happy to take a look and accept that guest on the podcast. And I can be contacted at info@boomerangbuilding.com if you want to inquire about the podcast, or you can find us on social media, on YouTube at the Distinctive Contractor Podcast. I feel like I'd love to have a conversation with you again in the future. Maybe I'll come see you in Dallas sometime. I do get up there.
There you go. Come on.
Yeah, our
Absolutely.
headquarters for our virtual assistants is actually in Dallas. So we might have an
Okay.
opportunity to meet in the future. Maybe I can get to invite you to one of the events.
That'd be great.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Adam.
Thank you for having me.